Okay, so I'll be talking about the lifespan of the House Bill 56. This was a very racist and cultural profiling bill that was passed around June 2011 and was then luckily shut down. But it all began with the census of 2010 in Alabama. This census showed that the number of Latinos in Alabama had gone exponentially up and was continuing to increase. And this scared a lot of Alabama citizens who, for some reason or another, really didn't want any Latinos in their community. So this caused a bunch of mass hysteria in the community. Additionally to this, there were a lot of politicians, such as Chris Kobach, who will then play a role in the drafting of the bill, who manipulated the data and just misinformed the public, making them believe that the amount of Latinos in Alabama was actually a lot higher, and that the increase in the flow of Latinos into Alabama was actually higher than it was. This is because in the 2000s, Alabama had a very low number of Latinos, respectively. So when a bigger number of Latinos came in for 2010, the percentages became screwed, became shifted over time, and they showed a lot higher percentages than other states simply because the initial number was smaller than the other states, so that would show a bigger increase in percentage. However, the campaigns were successful. Politicians like Chris Kobach were able to show the public that what they needed was strong anti-immigration laws and just anti-Latinos and just deportation laws that could allow Alabama to be restored to a more white majority. This is why in the 2010 elections, the Republicans won both houses and the governor in Alabama. So basically, they had a supermajority in Alabama, and anything that the Republican Party wanted would occur. Such is the case with the House Bill 56. The House Bill 56 was immediately drafted after the elections of 2010, and it was obvious that its ideas were not the most moral. It had clear racial profiling because the idea was that any Latino could be stopped by a police officer and asked for its proof of citizenship. So basically, if you were a Latino and you were walking down the street, going by in a car, going to the grocery store, going to church, going about your day, you could be stopped by a police officer simply because you looked like a Latino and be forced on the spot to prove your citizenship. Otherwise, you would be arrested. This was obviously a very harsh anti-immigration bill. However, because the masses had already been manipulated, it was passed and it was actually supported at first. It wasn't until it was completely implemented that people began to notice the downfall and the downside of this horrible bill. Many Latinos left. A lot of people from other states were publicly denouncing and protesting this bill. And even lawyers flooded in from other states, from nearby states, to fight against this bill and its just completely unconstitutional actions and ideals. Luckily enough, the lawyers that did fight for this bill were successful and they were able to take down this bill. Also, they were able to do this because the idea that a state could make an arrest on immigration was somewhat of a gray area, because anti-immigration laws are generally federal laws. So it would fall on the federal side of legislation and on the federal side of law enforcement. So having the state come into this was rather unusual. So this was very helpful for the lawyers that were protesting the bill in their success. However, as soon as this bill was shut down, the Republicans, just as Chris Kobach, began drafting another bill, House Bill 658, which was pretty much exactly the same thing under a different title. Some argue that it was even more racist and more xenophobic. However, luckily enough, the masses quickly caught up to this. They noticed what was going on, and they started protesting the bill before it was even completed. Thankfully, the courts agreed that this was highly immoral and unconstitutional, and they did not allow the bill to be implemented in the first place. That's basically how it happened. District Court was the first court to publicly denounce the bill and to shut it down, and in the later years, as other states and other politicians have attempted similar ideas, the simple idea of making a Latino so uncomfortable that he would self-deport, or that he could be stopped or pulled over just because of his race was deemed unconstitutional recently by the Supreme Court of the United States. That's it.